Gala Games is one of the leading players in the blockchain gaming metaverse space, and their flagship, massive multiplayer online role-playing game is Mirandus. This game is going to exist on the blockchain with a full player-owned economy. But land in this metaverse is going for anywhere from thousands of dollars to millions of dollars, which begs the question, is land in the Mirandus metaverse overvalued?
On-chain gaming.
What's up, my Metaverse family? So glad you guys are back for another video. So yeah, as I said in the intro, we're gonna be talking about whether or not Mirandus land is overvalued or not. Because in my last video, or one of the last several videos, I talked about how land in the metaverse has its value, and I thought that that video's framework of what gives land in the metaverse value would be a great prism with which to look at land in the Mirandus metaverse so that we can decide whether or not Mirandus metaverse land right now could be a good investment opportunity with a lot of upside, or if we're overpaying and it's gonna be hard to resell this land for the same price we're paying for it now once this game actually comes out. So if that sounds like an interesting topic for today's video, remember to drop a big thumbs up, hit subscribe if you're not subscribed already. This video is sponsored by FTX, but more on them later. Let's get into it. So in this video, I am assuming that you already know the basics of what Mirandus is, what the goal of this game is, and why blockchain gaming is a revolutionary thing. If you don't know the answers to these questions, then I will have a couple videos linked in the description and one appearing on the screen right now that will catch you up. But for the rest of you, let's keep going. So the first thing that gives land in the metaverse value is location. Just like land in the real world needs to be in a good location in order for someone to be willing to pay up for it, land in the metaverse needs to be in a good location with a lot of traffic as well if you expect someone to pay up for it. So the question we need to ask is Mirandus a good metaverse location to buy land in? Because when you look at the prices, it seems like they're charging for this land as if it's going to be a major metaverse location. So is this reasonable or is this not reasonable? Well, because Mirandus is an unreleased game, the way that we have to try and predict this is very, very heavily reliant on the team behind Mirandus. So let's take a look at the team behind Mirandus and their previous successes or failures. So the number one person that we need to look at here is Michael McCarthy, because he's the lead developer of Mirandus, the mastermind behind Mirandus. And he's going to have a big impact on whether or not this game is a success or a failure. So what has Michael McCarthy made in the past? Now, there are actually several games that Michael McCarthy has worked on that make me pretty bullish for what Mirandus might someday become. So starting off, because Mirandus is a role-playing game, I'm curious, what other role-playing games has Michael McCarthy worked on? And actually, two of the biggest role-playing games, I think, in history, he was on the teams behind, namely Fable 2 and Fallout 2, which were two incredible RPG games, and Michael McCarthy was on those teams. Now, what about some projects that he actually led up, that he had a bigger position in, that maybe he was in charge of? Well, Arcanum is another game that Michael McCarthy worked on that was very well received and was really fun. And then if you're talking about just like more of a casual game, like can this metaverse world bring in a lot of players? Has Michael McCarthy made games that have had a lot of players? Well, yeah, he actually also made Farmville 2, which I believe at one point had over 10 million daily active players. So just looking at the team, and Michael McCarthy is obviously just one person, but then Michael McCarthy is working for Gala Games, which is now a company with over 200 employees, and there is some incredible talent behind the Gala Games team. Like we've had a couple people stolen from Electronic Arts, some really big studios have come over to Gala, and I just think as far as team goes, this is a big check mark. So I am willing to pay up on that front. Like, I'm very confident this game is actually going to come out. I'm very confident this game is going to have insane developer support and is going to continue to get updates and upgrades and expansions. So all of that very, very good check mark. But when you're looking at the price and the location, it's still kind of hard to know how many people are going to be in this world because one, you can't jump in and really play it on a daily basis now and see how fun it's going to eventually become. So that limits our judgment ability here. And then the other thing is, like, we don't actually know when Mirandus's official release date is going to be. So there's an unknown timeline on when the game's final release is going to happen, which means there's also an unknown timeline on when we're going to be able to actually start seeing some revenue potential from this land and stuff that we're buying. So as far as location goes, I think that Mirandus could definitely prove out to be a very, very good location in the metaverse to set up shop. But for now, as far as we know now, it's probably too early to judge whether or not Mirandus is going to be one of the predominant metaverse locations. I personally think there's a good chance it will be, and I have invested in a lot of metaverse land, albeit some of the land I bought was a little bit earlier when the land was even going cheaper. But at these prices, I'm not thinking about selling my land, and that's for sure. But now let's talk about the second thing that gives metaverse land value, and this is the utility of the metaverse land. Now, we touched on this a little bit because Mirandus doesn't have an official release date. Right now, your land has zero utility, which is why I think if a game is unreleased, you should probably be able to get some kind of discount on the land that you're buying. But yeah, for now, all land and all buildings in Mirandus have zero utility. Now, I think this is a thing that's going to be changing soon, hopefully soon, but at the very least, it will be changing in the next couple of years, and we will start seeing a lot more utility added to this land. So in that aspect, you might think if people are willing to pay this much for land now without utility, and in the future it will have utility, the expectation is people will be willing to like pay more for it then when there is utility than they're willing to pay for it now without utility. But that's not a guaranteed thing. And sometimes the hope of what will be can cause things to be up more than the reality of what eventually is, if that makes sense. So sometimes the expectation of future utility can push prices up more than when that utility actually hits, and then there's nothing else to look forward to. So that is something to think about. But I personally believe that if Mirandus does someday have millions of players, then the actual economic value of the utility that this Mirandus land is going to have might blow people away, and we might find out, wow, land was really, really discounted. We just didn't realize it because we didn't realize what the full potential actually was in reality in a game that had a full real economy and millions of players. Like, what sort of value owning land in that sort of country? Like, this is really what it is, a whole new country with a whole new economy. What sort of value that land might eventually become. Like, I just think we might all be super blown away and we find out, wow, stuff was really undervalued back in 2022. But now let's talk about the third thing. Now, this third point is the rarity. So the first thing that we are looking at is the location of the land. The second, the utility of the land. And then third and finally is the rarity of the land. So just so you guys know, yeah, there can be an infinite amount of virtual land, but there is a finite amount of virtual land in each metaverse. Because remember, the developers of these worlds are creating the rules for these worlds, and they can put a hard limit and say, this is how much land there is. There will never be more land than this. And we have seen the Mirandus developers do that. So there are only a certain number of land deeds, actually well less than 2,000 land deeds, which if you're thinking about a game that might potentially have millions of players, 2,000 land deeds or less than 2,000 land deeds is very, very few. Just for comparison, so that you guys have an idea how few 2,000 is, Big Time, which is a game coming out from the co-founder of Decentraland, Big Time is planning on having 600,000 600,000 spaces, which is big times equivalent of land inside big time. So 600,000 to 2,000. Or look at the sandbox, for example. The sandbox also has hundreds of thousands of pieces of land. So when you're looking at like the scarcity of land in Mirandus, this is where, as an investor, I really got turned on to this. I was like, what? This world might have millions of players and there's only a couple thousand pieces of land. That is true scarcity. And I think that could lead to crazy price appreciation. So I think that if we're going through all three of these points, location, this one is still unknown, but I think the team is kind of pointing in a lot of good directions here. So I think it will prove out to be a good location, but still not guaranteed. It's almost like when you're taking a risk on a new like town development, like a new city is getting developed and you're like, you want to buy some land there to set up a shop. Like you're taking a risk that city is eventually going to be a booming place with a lot of inhabitants, but you don't know for certain. And that risk is real and it could turn out not to be that way. But yeah, so on the first thing, it's an unknown, but the team is a good sign. On the second thing of utility, this is, you're definitely overpaying for the current utility that you're getting, but the promise of future utility is why people are willing to pay for this land. It's just like in the stock market, when someone might be willing to pay a lot for a company that's currently losing money, it's like the reason they're willing to pay for a company that's losing money is because they see the revenue growth, they see the inevitable profitability coming in the future, and they're willing to pay for the discounted cash flow maybe 5 years from now or something like that, discount it back to now and find out what they think something is worth. So I think it's a similar thing going on with this Mirandus land. We're looking at the future utility, the future cash flow potential that some of this land might have, and we're saying, okay, I'm willing to pay up for that. So for example, under the second thing of utility, let's do a thought example. So there are a couple thousand taverns inside the world of Mirandus, and if you don't know, for players, if you're playing the game, in order to continue adventuring, in order to continue earning by clearing dungeons and that sort of thing, you're going to need to have food in order to regenerate health and be able to continue getting energy and that sort of thing. So players in the world are going to have to stop at taverns to feed their character so that they can go out and earn in the world. So if there's only 2,000 taverns, just as an example, and there's 2 million players, well, that is a lot of players per tavern. So if you think that maybe, I don't know, each player might have to eat once a day or something like that, say you have 1,000 customers, or let's be super conservative and say you have only 100 daily customers at your tavern. And let's say that each time they go to refill their food and hunger bar back to full, it costs them $1. And they're willing to pay that $1 because with that $1 that they spent on sustenance, their character can go out into the world and hopefully earn more than $1 adventuring and that sort of thing. But for the tavern owner, if each of your taverns, or if your one tavern is making $100 a day, well, there's 365 days a year. So now that's $36,500 a year that your tavern is bringing in. And if you look at how much a company is sold for in the stock market, well, it's about 10 to 20 times earnings. So if you're making $35,000 a year with your tavern and someone is willing to pay you 10 times earnings because they want to make $35,000 playing a video game, then it's very possible in the future someone might pay you $365,000, right? 10 times the $36,000 earnings that you're getting. And yeah, that would mean that a tavern today is super undervalued. Now, there is quite a bit of speculation going on in this thought experiment, but it just goes to show how much real value the utility that some of these buildings and some of this land in the Mirandus metaverse might eventually bring. Let me quickly interrupt this video to tell you about our sponsor, FTX. Now, honestly, I'm a little bit humbled even that FTX sponsors on-chain gaming. I think FTX is the best crypto exchange in the world right now, and FTX US just launched a brand brand new gaming division called FTX Gaming. And what is so cool about FTX Gaming is that they literally created this new division to help gaming studios integrate NFTs and crypto into new games. So FTX literally created this division to try and make crypto gaming and NFT gaming, to try and make player ownership happen faster. So that is really awesome. And I'm sure that all the games that, come out using NFTs through FTX's new division are going to be selling their NFTs on FTX's new NFT marketplace. So definitely create an account on FTX using our links in the description. There is one link for the mobile app and then another link for the web app. And using either of these links will give you cool bonuses. Already FTX has the lowest trading fees out of any exchange in the world, but using our links will give you free crypto on every trade and a discount on your trading fees. So yeah, guys, I highly recommend using FTX. Support them because they're supporting NFT crypto gaming. Plus, they give you the best experience. Also, they're US regulated. They follow all the guidelines and everything. So completely safe to use them. And it's a great way to start getting into NFT gaming, getting into crypto, getting into NFTs. Do it on FTX. For the second thing, sure, now for the utility you're getting, it's not worth it, but for future utility, it could be very, very worth it. So now the third and final, remember this is the recap, the third and final thing that we went over was Rarity. And as far as Rarity goes, Mirandus kind of knocks it out of the park as far as different metaverses that you can invest in. The land in the Mirandus metaverse is some of the rarest I think that might ever exist, because what future companies might find out is like, man, giving the power to that few people for a world that got this big was just not smart. We could have sold so many more pieces of land, or whatever the company thinks. I'm not sure if we'll see this again. So in my opinion, my final thoughts here are I don't know if land in Mirandus is overvalued or undervalued. If a lot of my presuppositions are correct about the future of gaming being on the blockchain, about the metaverse being a massive revolution and the number of gamers in the world doubling because of play to earn, if some of those theses that I have, which I've talked about in a lot of previous videos, are true, then I think that yes, there's a very, very good chance that metaverse land in Mirandus specifically is not overvalued. And in fact, there's going to be a lot of upside still for current holders. So that is my stance. I'm not a financial advisor though, guys, and definitely do your own research. Think about this stuff critically, fundamentally on your own, and yeah, see what conclusions you come to about what some of these different things might be worth. If Mirandus is a successful metaverse or if it's not a successful metaverse. Like, run the numbers for both and see what sort of potential you might have buying land in the metaverse. And that is definitely going to help you know whether or not it's a good idea for you or not. So if you guys enjoyed this video, just hearing some of my thoughts as I wrestle with, I mean, just for complete transparency, Mirandus land, Mirandus buildings are my biggest investment position in the metaverse. I have more NFTs in Mirandus than any other metaverse world by far. So yeah, I'm very heavily invested in this. So maybe there's some bias coming from that. Like, there has to be, right? I mean, I am invested in it. But I tried to do my best here in this video to give you the most balanced analysis that I could. So if you enjoyed it, remember to drop a big thumbs up. That helps out a ton in the YouTube algorithm. Like, seriously guys, when you leave thumbs up, it makes the video get recommended to more people and all that. So it's a great way to help the channel grow. And then also, if you watch this whole video and you're not subscribed yet, what are you doing? Make sure you hit subscribe and click that notification bell so that you do not miss any future content. This channel, On-Chain Gaming, is all about the future of blockchain games and the metaverse. So hopefully you join for the journey. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at Jake Browatsky, but I don't make these videos by myself. Nate, my brother, edits all these videos. Josh, our friend, does the original intro and outro music and runs our second channel, On-Chain Gaming Clips, which you can check out in the description below. That channel does get original content uploaded to it as well. And also, thank you to our Patreon supporters for making this content possible, the creation of this content possible. You guys are the producers of this channel, so as always, I appreciate you. And until next time, everyone, have fun roaming the metaverse.